Hi guys, Midwest Outdoorsman here with another video. This time I was going to talk about some ARs. A lot of people nowadays, really want ARs for home defense and for just, like three-gun competitions, just for fun, shooting at the range, for hunting. And it's really a great gun for that because it's really a jack of all trades. They're really modular. You can use them for a bunch of different uses, and even though they're under a lot of scrutiny from the media right now, they're just a tool, just like any other gun. Um, and as long as you are responsible and treat them with respect, just like any other weapon, they're perfectly safe. And I was going to take you through a couple things to think about when choosing an AR, and kind of some of the different takes I have on them, and some of the setups that I have, and why I have them that way. And maybe give people a little bit of a that don't know a lot about it or first getting into it or something, a little bit of insight just to see what another guy thinks. And my ARs that I have right now that I have in front of you are both Rock Rivers, and there's a lot of debate over like milspec, where people say, oh, if it's not milspec, I don't want it. And I really think that that doesn't make that big of a difference. It's not like one's way better than the other, and sometimes milspec is way overrated. The military has specifications that they have for certain parts and certain things that they have to meet, but a lot of manufacturers surpass them, or just because the military puts out a test doesn't mean that it's the end all and be all of something. A lot of times the military, puts out bids for stuff, and it has to be produced by the cheapest person that will bid for that, and it's not necessarily made with quality in mind. A perfect example would be the triggers on your AR-15s that are mil spec. I mean, they're horrible most of the time. They have horrible pull weights, 8 pounds or more sometimes, real gritty, single stage. Um, it's just I don't care for them, and you have to really think about how you're going to be using the AR. You know, if you're a three-gun competition, shooter, or if you're someone that shoots thousands of rounds every week, then I would recommend going with something super high quality. Maybe then the mil spec parts, or like the full auto group bolt carriers, staked gas keys, all that stuff. I think would come into play, and you would want to go with something like a Colt or a LaRue, or some of the better makes of ARs. Just because if you're going to be running them that much, then that's where that kind of stuff I think separates it. But for most people like me, I use my ARs for a variety of things. I of course have them for defense in my home, or if anything would ever happen. Just like a lot of people, they want a backup weapon, in case the shit ever hits the fan, so to speak, and there's not a rule of law, and you want a weapon to defend yourself and your family. And people, a lot of people think that that's crazy, but just look at what happened in New Orleans after the hurricane. Mass, looting and crime, and I mean, you want something to be able to protect yourself. I'm in that group, where obviously I don't ever want to have to use it that way, and I have it so it flexes into other roles. It's not the only thing that it can do, but it's a consideration that I have. And so the big points that you want to hit are how you're going to use it, and then under each subcategory, what are those most important things that are for that aspect. I don't have millions of dollars to be spending on all kinds of different stuff, like most people, so my ARs have to kind of flex into everything. So I kind of have to hit as many points as I can for an AR for defense, an AR for hunting, an AR for fun. All those things I try to hit with one or two guns, and instead of having a short 14.5-inch barrel with a pinned flash hider, where it's the absolute shortest, compactest thing for CQB or combat, close combat. I kind of have a compromise of a little longer barrel that is a little bit better for hunting, coyotes and fox and that kind of thing, which I like to do in the wintertime especially. So I try to flex those things in, try to find the middle ground. And I think that's what a lot of people do, because these are costly if you can even find them. I mean, with the craziness going on right now with all the people buying up every AR part, AR, and everything that comes with them. A lot of times you can't even find them, and if you do, they're outrageously priced. I was lucky enough to buy these 6 or 7 years ago when they were common, and I actually special ordered them from Rock River, and so I hit them before the craziness came to be. But I've also done some modifications to mine over the years, and that's one thing great about the AR platform is that you can really, there's a million parts out there, and you can, just like a Rigger 1022 or even more, you can make it into whatever you want. Especially since you got your lower here, which is, separated just by 2 pins here and here from the upper. So you can have one lower, which is the part you actually have to call in for when you buy the gun, and you can buy new uppers right over the internet and swap them out. So if you want if you want one AR instead of 2, and you want one for close combat, shit hits the fan type situation, you can get a super short barrel, a silencer, all that kind of stuff, that pertains to combat. And then if you want like a longer 18, 16, 20-inch barrel, and you want to have a scope on it or whatever, you can just get the other upper if you would like, and you can just swap them out with 2 pins. Simple, fast, effective. For me, I kind of take the middle ground again, even because that's still more money, buying another upper. And I don't even have all my parts yet. I'm not rich like a lot of people, so I'm still trying to get the things that I want. But for right now, this is what I have. And this is pretty much my favorite that I have so far. It's a Rock River standard ar-15. It actually came with a different barrel, different forend, and all that stuff on it. What I did is I put a Troy Industries TRX Alpha rail on it. This is a 13-inch, I believe, or maybe it's 11. I think it might be 11. It's 11-inch. And I have a custom barrel in here. It's a 223 wild chamber, which most of the time your ARs are going to come in a 5.56 chamber, which will shoot the 5.56 NATO round, and it will also shoot the 223 Remington round. The 5.56 is just a little bit thicker wall brass, and it's loaded to a little bit higher pressures. And this will handle both. And the 223 Wild will actually handle both of them as well, but it's a tighter chamber, a little more accurate, more like a custom kind of chambering. And this barrel I got off the internet from a maker in Madison, Wisconsin, and it's actually black nitride treated inside and out. And like I said, the 223 Wild chamber, and it was a good deal, and I really like it. I have a Smith Vortex flash hider on here. A lot of people will say that because it's open, unlike if you look at the birdcage A2 style flash suppressor that I have here, not open, closed off. People will say, if you're going to take it through the woods or whatever, that open will get snagged on brush or vines or whatever. And it might be true, but I don't use it for that much, so I don't really have to worry about that. And I like the fact that the Smith is a little bit quieter than your regular A2 because it's not completely enclosed, and it also adds to the accuracy of it. But I take the middle ground as far as the barrel, and I go with a 16-inch barrel without the flash hider, which gives me good velocity, and it also gives me reasonable CQB length. Actually, I can wheel this inside of a house no problem. It's not as good as a 14.5-inch, but like I said, I don't have money to be spending on 20 different guns. So that's the middle ground that I took, and I actually went with their light contour barrel, and it's not a pencil barrel like the M4 pencil barrel, the really thin one, but it is a thinner barrel. I don't know if you can see that through the handguard there. But originally I had this set up with a thick barrel, and God, it weighed so much. It was about 9.5 pounds without a scope, without anything on it, and that really lightened it up. And that's another thing. So many ARs today are so damn heavy that it's just ridiculous. Especially if you're thinking you're going to carry that around in a rule of law, situation, you want something light. And for me, light is fully set up with everything on it under 8 pounds. I think that's a reasonable weight. That's not ultralight to me, but that's a reasonable weight because that's about what my hunting rifles are. That I know what those weights are. I carry them all the time, miles and miles, and I can carry comfortably a rifle that weighs about 7.8 to 8 pounds, and that feels relatively lightweight to me. doesn't hurt my back. You know, you've got other gear, backpacks, all that kind of stuff. You got to take that into consideration. So I would try to stay under 8 pounds if you can with everything on it. It comes with the Rock River comes with their excellent 2-stage match trigger, which for me is just phenomenal. It's safety check here. Obviously unloaded, but take the magazine out. But this 2-stage trigger, for people that don't know what a 2-stage trigger is there's 2 stages to it. That's why they call it 2-stage. Instead of just one pull and then the weapon discharging, you actually pull back and there's like no resistance, and then you hit a wall. See that? A little bit of a give, you hit the wall, and then once you hit the wall, it's super crisp, fantastic. To me, this is a great strength of the Rock River because, you know, some people say they're not as durable as like a milspec trigger, single stage, but I've never had any problems, and I've shot thousands of rounds through these guns, and I've never had a malfunction problem with the trigger ever. And I don't shoot thousands of rounds a week, obviously, but that's the way that I hunt with them. That's the way that I use them. If you're going to shoot thousands of rounds a week, you might want to go with a different trigger. I've never seen any problems with them, but that's just one thing to consider. But I love the 2-stage match trigger that Rock River has in their guns. It comes standard, and it's really, really crisp. I don't have to touch it. I don't have to add anything to it. It's fantastic. I also have the winter trigger guard on here, which for me is a very great thing because I do a lot of coyote hunting in the wintertime, and having gloved hands, just having that extra space makes it really nice. And also I ordered with their chrome plated bolt carrier group, which I think is fantastic. Especially this is a direct impingement gas system, and so when you get dirt and stuff falling inside of here, it's so much easier to wipe off than a standard one. You can just use a rag a lot of times, and I really think that's a good choice, the chrome plated bolt carrier group. They also make ones aftermarket, of course, like the nitrided ones, like titanium nitride, or I think they're gold sometimes, or the black nitride coated ones that are Teflon coated, that kind of thing. But this, I've never had this problem with this flaking off or anything, so I've had good experience with it. I always put backup iron sights on my guns, and I actually just got these installed. Well, I installed them myself, but I just finally had enough money to buy them, I mean. And they're low-profile Midwest Industries sights. You can see there, sits on that Troy TRX rail, less than ½ an inch. And I actually took the standard A2 post out, and I added this excess big dot tritium. You can see that there a little bit. See how it's rounded on the end there? That's one of the big reasons that I chose this. It's, you know, it's white, and it's a circle, so it works good with the shape and the circle aperture in the back. And so the white, you know, you pick that up really nice during the day, and then also the tritium picks up at night, so you got visibility in day or night. So I had good luck with that. I like that a lot. And then your rear sight is just your standard. I don't know if you can see that. It's a little bit dark in here, I suppose. Right there. You got dual aperture, flip up rear sight, pretty standard. Other good ones are Magpul makes the Mbuis, and those are made out of plastic, but they're still good quality. They sit relatively low. Troy makes some excellent ones. And also, just to comment on this the front sight post that I put on here, I like the fact, like I said, it was rounded off instead of square, so it works good with the back aperture being round, the front being an HK style sight where it's, you know, like this, where it's round, so everything is round and it draws your eye to the center. For me, anyway, faster and better. But it also only faces one way. What I mean is you have to rotate it 180 degrees in order to see that facing tritium and dot. So sighting in can be a little bit tricky. So you gotta have a little bit of a compromise as far as, you know, your point of impact, because it can be like 5-inch difference by turning that one turn at like 100 yards. Trijicon makes one that's kind of like that, only it doesn't have a big white outline. It's in the post on it is square, and it also, but it has a dual. if you know how an A2 front sight works, there's a like a circle with little 4 cutouts in it that you turn. You push down a plunger that holds it in place, and then you turn it, and then it clicks and locks into place. So you have 4 different settings for your height if you're going up or down. And this one only has 1, obviously, because you have to turn it a complete turn to get back to that white-facing tritium dot. But the Trijicon has got 2 sets of those, so you can actually set it in perfectly for the perfect height, and then turn the other dial so the dot's facing you at whatever height it is. And I was going to get that one, and I just like this one so much better because of the top of it being rounded off and having a larger white dot, and also having the tritium. But if I can't get this one to sight in exactly the way that I want, I'll put it on my backup gun and I'll get the Trijicon. But as long as I can get this, within an inch, it'll be fine. I'm not going to worry too much about it. They're backups after all, and I would probably only use those in, an emergency situation if my optic went down, or if it was cracked or something like that, which I don't think will ever happen, or at night or something if I had to use it and my optic wasn't on there for some reason. For CQB, most likely, and that would be close range, and you're not going to have to worry about that smidgen of a difference at 100 yards. I mean, at 20 feet, it's not going to make that big of a difference, or even 20 yards. So that's the sights that I have, the backup iron sights. I would always recommend putting backup iron sights on. Talked about the trigger. The bolt handle that I have on here, the charging handle, is PRI gas buster. It's called. You can see it here. It's got a special shape and stuff. It's actually supposed to direct gases away from your face if you would have a rupture in the case or something would go wrong or whatever. Not completely dissimilar, from my understanding, from the holes they drill on the rifle barrels. If a case would rupture, you'd have a problem or whatever. Works good. Pricey option if you can find them now. But I ordered it, and I actually got a lot better deal on it because I ordered it with the gun. The sling I have on here is a Blackhawk 3-point sling. I really like that. You can carry it front, back, side, whatever you want. Because you got to remember that when there's a magazine in the, and this is unloaded, of course. If there's a magazine in your AR, it's going to stick out. You can't carry it like a traditional rifle. Otherwise, that thing's going to be shoving in your back. So you want to carry it flat. And with mine, I just have it tied onto the Troy here. I'm actually going to get, they have a, you can see it's just tied on. And it works just fine, but I'm going to actually get, they make a quick detach mount that goes right in these holes Troy does for a sling. I'm going to get that eventually. Just don't have the money right now. But I really like the Blackhawk sling. Works well, easily adjustable. Haven't had a whole lot of problems with being able to sling it, front, back, side to side, even with heavy clothes on, that kind of thing. Makes it really nice to carry if you've got, because we do a lot of coyote hunting, and sometimes we run them with dogs and whatnot. And if you're holding on to a leash in each hand with dogs, it's so nice to be able to sling that over like a single sling pack across your chest and have it not bouncing around and stuff. You can have it on your back and out of the way, even with the magazine in it, and it's no problem. Nothing's digging into you. And also the magazine itself, these are what I would recommend. These are Magpul PMags. They're actually a polymer magazine. Best ones I've ever used. They come with a snap-on dust cover here. And you can see it's really secure. Clips onto the bottom when not in use. Otherwise, you can just clip it onto the top there. Keeps dust and everything out. Works fantastic. Never had a problem with them. Never had one fail. Never had one jam on me ever. Just a good quality all-around magazine. You can watch videos they have of them. People run them over trucks, all kinds of crazy stuff. Self-lubricating fouler and everything. I just don't think there's anything better in my opinion. But yeah, Magpul PMag 30 rounder. They also make smaller ones. So that's the magazine. The stock. One interesting note I have on the stock of these guns is obviously weight. You got to look at your weight. But another consideration is you have your standard carbine collapsing stock, and I do not like them because I don't know if it's just the way my face is or whatever, but I don't get a good cheek weld. I shoot so much better with a good cheek weld, like most people do, and I do not get a good cheek weld with those guns. And actually, it sounds kind of funny, but even with the standard car stock or even Magpul's car stock, which is a good stock, but if you're someone that has a little bit of a beard or you haven't shaved in a while, kind of a dumb thing, but see how there's this right here where it goes up and down, slides on the shaft. It doesn't happen with this one, for me anyway, because if you see how the cross section of the stock is right there, see how it's so much wider right there? You've got this huge flat for your cheek to go on. For me, that works fantastic. I never have a problem with it. That's what I prefer. But on a regular car stock, it's just a tube. And then they have, you know, these sections on it. And you can actually get your beard hairs caught in here. And it sounds like a dumb problem to have, but trust me, I've done it with different guns. I used to have other ARs and stuff and different stocks, and you are, you know, pulling up, you get a cheek weld and stuff like that, and you, for some reason, my hairs from my beard, you know, on the side of my face or even lower would get caught in there, depending on where you have it, of course, and it would, you'd go to put the gun down or whatever, and yank them out, and it's not very fun. Maybe I'm the only one that's ever happened to, but just something to think about. I love these. There's different types of. This is the actual Rock River made stock that came with the gun. But I like this better than the standard car stocks that are flared out like that, that have better, more surface area for your cheek weld. That's my preference. Way, way, way over the regular car stock. Also, one thing I like about these is obviously the gun doesn't recoil a lot, you know, and I'm not recoil sensitive anyways. But it has a like a rubberized texture on the back of the Rock River stock, and I really like that because you put it up and it doesn't go anywhere. Some people might not like that. Some people might want a hard plastic cover so they can move it around easier or whatever. But I prefer this rubberized butt pad on the back of it that comes on the Rock River, because that really helps it not go anywhere. And also, you have a storage compartment. See that? It slides down. All I do is click it, slide down, and you have a watertight storage compartment. You just pop that out, and you have two sections where you can put in batteries, you can put in a fire steel, you can put in matches, a little bit of amp, whatever you feel like putting in there, you can put in there, and it's watertight too. So you put that in there, and then you just slide the, push this in, and slide the stock back up, clips on. So that's kind of a nice little thing that I like. I love having storage compartments. Some people think they're kind of hokey. I think that having options is great. You don't have to put anything in there if you don't want to. Also, grips. There's a lot of good grips out there. This is probably my favorite. This is the Magpul Myad, and they have also a storage compartment in the grip itself. I don't have any fingernails here, so it's a little bit more difficult for me to get this out. Come on. Yeah, I bite my fingernails, so it's a little bit hard for me to get this out. Plus, I don't really take it out that much. Let me grab a pen or something here. It's not nearly as hard as I'm making it look. So bear with me. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, yep, you know, it's hollow. So you can put whatever you want in there. And I also have the base. This one is the one that comes with it, and it has a three round holder, so you can put 3 extra rounds of ammunition inside of there if you wanted to. But they make ones for like specially designed to carry an extra bolt, ejector, that kind of thing, batteries, all kinds of stuff. And you don't need the special ones, but they make them if you want them. I just like the way that it has interchangeable grip sizes on the back, like a lot of your handguns nowadays. You can take out the back strap here on the grip. Sorry, it's a little dark in here. But yeah, there's a line right here, and you can take out the back strap and make it thinner or make it fatter if you want. And also it has a nice palm swell, and it has a nice kind of a sandpapery texture on the grip, which I like. Fits my hand really well. As far as optics go, now there's a lot of good optics out there for the money, and that's another can of worms as far as what you're willing to spend. But for me, the perfect AR as far as optics go, for what I use it for anyway, is a close combat optic like this aim point here, Comp ML3, and then instead of having a whole nother rifle or a whole another upper, I just, like I say, take the middle ground. I take the 16-inch barrel. I have a mid-length gas system on here. I didn't mention that, which I think is the perfect gas system for any AR because it's short enough to where it's not cumbersomely long, but it's also softer recoiling than a carbine. Your powder will burn more effectively in the longer tube, in the longer gas tube here. It won't be as dirty in here. I've never had any problems with reliability with them. Those are my favorites. But I would, for me, I use the gun for close combat, obviously like that, which is why I have this red dot. But then for hunting, I don't have it yet. I'm going to get the LaRue SPR mount. It's a lever mount, just like my LaRue that I have on here for the aim point. And I can show you that quick. All it is a lever, so you don't need any tools. All you do is pull that, throw the lever, take it off, put it back on. It returns right to its zero. It works fantastic. They're built like a tank, lightweight for what they are. I really like LaRue mounts. Expensive though. This is the M68 CCO mount for aim points. I really never, I mean, I can't say enough good things about it. It's awesome. But anyways, I would go with some kind of red dot optic for close combat if you feel that you want to use it for that. And then I would also, if you're going to use it for hunting, coyotes, or that kind of thing, what I'm going to do is get that LaRue SPR mount, which is basically the same thing as this, only there's two of them. It's a little different design. It's designed for a regular rifle scope, but it has two levers on it, easily to just throw the levers on, off, so you can flex between, and you have the numbers on your rails so you can remember where you put it and you can return to zero. That's my personal preference, would be this LaRue mount with a red dot, and then a LaRue mount with the levers with a rifle scope, so I can use it for hunting with the rifle scope. I can use the red dot for everything else. Easily, interchanged, and you can, if you only have one gun, it saves you a lot of money from having to go and buy another one. I happen to have two because I have a backup AR, one for me and one for my lady friend that lives in the house as well, my fiance. So one for each of us if anything would ever go wrong. But you don't need it, especially if you don't want to spend all the money. So, and as far as the optics go, a lot of people will say aim point versus the EOTech, and I have a real clear preference between the two. For me, it's aim point hands down, and there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, it's lighter. The aim point is, I think, 11 point some ounces, and with the LaRue mount that I have on it, and the EOTech is a couple ounces heavier, so first of all, it's lighter. The EOTech does have the mount built into it. It has a screw here, and you just screws onto your rail. I don't think it's as good as the LaRue mount because at least you need a tool. The LaRue mount on my aim point, you don't need any tools. I like the dot better than the reticle on the EOTech. That's just my personal preference. I'm not saying one's bad and one's good. See if I can get you to see that there. Let's see here. Come on now. There we go. You can see the dot. This is a 2 MOA dot. I prefer a little bit smaller dot. But that's the reticle on the aim point. And I will show you the reticle on the EOTech if you don't already know what it looks like. There we go. Oh, hold on here. There we are. It's a circle with some hash marks and a dot in the middle. A lot of people like it because it's bigger. For close combat, they think, it's lost it here. They think it's easier to see. And that might be true if that's what you like. You know, I'm not saying they're bad. They're both, in my opinion, probably the two best sights you can get for an AR. But I like the Aimpoint better. For one, the dot I think is more precise because it's a little bit smaller on the Aimpoint. Um, I like the fact that you have a circle that you're looking through instead of the square window of the EOTech. For me, my eyes drawn better to a circle and then a dot in the center. It seems to work and be more fluid for me when I'm using it. Um, Also, I love the fact that you have these covers on here that come with it, of course. This actually comes with a cover too, but I took it off just to lose some weight. And you can batten down the hatches right here. You can clip those and they stay nice and they stay on there. And so rain, dirt, mud, snow, whatever doesn't get in there. And then when you need it, just hit it, flip them out, ready to go. They stay in place. Fantastic. I really like that. I also like the way that you can adjust the reticle brightness on the Aimpoint better. It's got a dial here that you just can click and go up into your daytime settings and then go all the way down if you want. And all the way down is off, of course. Where the EOTech, you have buttons, physical buttons here. Let's see if you can see that. See, there's a button here and a button here. And what you do is just turn it on, you hit one button, it'll be on, and then to turn it off you have to push both of these buttons simultaneously. And then to cycle up through or down, you go click up or you click down. And then it also has a night mode on here, click on, which is just, you know, really dim, obviously if you're going to be using it at night. I think it's easier, and I like the tactile feel of the clicks on the Aimpoint better myself. And also, if you look at the Aimpoint, there's no covers on here. You can buy covers to put on here, but I think they're more awkward, and I think that they don't work quite as well. And you know, the Aimpoint I think is a little bit more bulky to me. I mean, it depends on what you're thinking of. I mean, this sits more on the rail here, and the other one comes up a little bit. But to me, it feels bulkier. It feels heavier. I mean, it is heavier, but it just feels like it's not as light and trim. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. But so those are the optics, and those are kind of some of the reasons why. Also, big one, battery life. I got the EOTech 512. They do make smaller ones. These take AA batteries. That's why I got it. Because if there's a, you know, horrible situation where, you know, you need to get batteries, whatever, that's going to be probably the most common one you're going to be able to find. That's why I bought the EOTech and the 512. They do make the XPS and different ones that use the smaller CR123 batteries that will last a little longer and stuff, but then you also, it's going to be hard to find them if there's no stores open or there's looting or whatever, and you need them, which is why you always want backup iron sights too. But the battery life on the EOTech is nowhere near the Aimpoint. The Aimpoint takes a couple of stacked like watch type batteries, and it'll last for about 5 years if you turn it on. 5 years, it's good. The EOTech will last. I don't remember the exact number, but it's I think a couple thousand hours, maybe at most. It's considerably less than the EOTech. Whatever the numbers are, I know that it's way less than or the Aimpoint. I'm sorry. The EOTech is considerably less than the Aimpoint. The Aimpoint will last a good 5 years. And then you can carry, if you have any spare battery parts in here, if you really want to, you can carry them, and you're good for 10 years. You know, if the batteries will last that long in storage. I'm not quite sure on that, but yeah, just a big point. The battery life is way better on the Aimpoint. And you know, I like the mounting system better. I like the covers better. I like the dot better. I like pretty much everything about it better. I bought them at the same time because I really couldn't decide between them, and then after using them for a while, it really, for personal preference of mine, I'm not trying to hate on the EOTech. I'm not saying they're bad. If you love EOTech and you use them, I'm not saying they're bad at all. They're fantastic. They're both, I mean, you might, just because personal preference, because of how your eyes are or whatever, they might be completely reversed, and you might not like the Aimpoint at all. That's fine. They're both fantastic. They're both really rugged. The military uses both of them. Personally, for me, I just kind of give you a couple reasons why I prefer the Aimpoint. And as far as the optic goes, I'm gonna, like I said, I get the Luru SPR mount with the levers on it for the for my refloscope, and I'm gonna put a Nikon. They came out with a new one, the ProStaff 5. It's a 3.5 to 14 by 40 millimeter scope with a mil dot reticle, and I actually use it in conjunction with I have some. It's called Bullet Flight, or they have Shooter, or apps for your Android phone or whatever kind of device you want, and you can download it. You don't need to be in a network or anything like that. As long as you download it to your device, you can make calculations for long-range shooting prairie dogs or something like that, which I think is going to be fun. I want to go out west and do that sometime. But the other thing about the forends I was going to say is that this Troy, one thing I love about it is it's so slim. You can see that here. I mean, look how slim and trim that is. I really like it. It feels nimble. It feels quick on the hand. I really like it for that. But on the flip side, this other rock river that I have a came with a Yankee Hill Diamond quad rail. And quad rails are pretty much ancient now. Not a lot of people use them anymore. They're big and bulky. People don't like them. A lot of times they're really heavy. This one isn't, but a lot of them are. And you don't need all that rail space most of the time. On this, you can get rail sections, which I don't have a light on here yet because I have another light like this that I could put on there, but I'm going to actually probably put on like a stream light that clips onto like the quad rails that I don't need a mount or anything. Money, though, I don't have it yet. But I do have this to put on there if I want to, which is EagleTac T20. This is an excellent light. Push it once, nice and bright. Push it twice, strobe. Works good for me. It actually comes with a remote pressure switch and stuff, but I don't need that because I have it set up to where I can just hit it with my finger. But about the rails, what I was saying is I love how it's slim and trim, but me, I have a carpal tunnel and I have problems with my wrists and stuff from my work, from my job, from years and years and years of doing repetitive motions, operating machinery. And so my hands cramp up real easily. And one thing that I love about this is, yeah, it is wider. This is about 3.5 inches or so across because I have these guards on the top of my quad rail. And some people might say, "Oh my God, that's huge and bulky or whatever." It's not. It doesn't weigh a whole lot more than that. And look at the way your hand lays in there, nice and open like this, right? Your hand's not all scrunched up like it is on that. Which I'm not saying that's bad because that's probably my favorite. But I'm just saying with this, I can keep my hand nice and open, and I actually rest it against the magazine well here. And if you're going to be doing something for long periods of time, if you want to shoot IDPA type stuff or 3-gun or whatever competitions, nice to have your hand open, for me anyway, if you have problems with your wrists or something, to keep yourself from cramping up, because these guns aren't, even when they're modest weight, both these guns fitted with sling, without the magazines of course, but with sling, backup iron sights, scopes, mounts, all flashlight, the whole works. They both weigh about 7.8 pounds, which to me is a really good moderate weight. Not super light, but it's on the lighter end. But even that, you run them for a long enough time, you hold them for enough time, they get heavy. And if you have problems with your wrists or your fingers or anything like that, maybe something you want to consider. Make sure to get something that's a super lightweight rail, but you might want to go a little bit wider and get something like this to let your hand stay more open. You can get vertical grips. I have some. I don't prefer them. If you do, that's fine. I've used them, and I did a bunch of testing with them. And for me, I think it's more because of the problems that I have with my wrists and my ligaments and stuff. Grabbing that small foregrip fatigued my hands and my wrists and stuff more. So I took them off. But if you like them, that's fine. And I think I have some Tango Down ones, and they have storage in them as well. But then it also adds to the weight. I would always put a flashlight mount on my gun. Like I said, I have another one of these that I could put on here, but because it's so light and trim, I'm going to get like a stream light that just clips onto a little rail section here. But yeah, this is a KZ offset flashlight mount. They make some different mounts. Just clip onto the rail here. Very nice, I think. And this has got the Rock River. Or no, this isn't the Rock River. It's kind of like that, but it's a flip-up front sight gas block. So it keeps it low profile. I can't stand having stuff in my, some people like having stuff co-witnessing, like they have an A2 front sight post because they like having a pinned front sight, which is fine, you know. So it's basically like this being up all the time. For me, it just bugs the crap out of me. I like to be able to see my optics, to see my dot without any interference from anything else. I like to have it completely open, just like a rifle scope, without any magnification. If that doesn't bother you, if you like co-witness, that's great, you know. But for me personally, it does. It bugs the crap out of me. So I have to have something that sits super, super low to the rail, so there's no interference when you're looking, you know, through there. But that's just me. Something else to think about too. I would make sure to either get a flip up front sight gas block, as long as it doesn't have a whole bunch of crap hanging off of it to keep the weight down, or get something like this to keep the weight down, and then get a low profile folding front sight like a Midwest Industries, a Troy, or a Magpul Ambulance. This is another grip. This is an ergo grip. This is like a rubberized grip, and it has a storage compartment also in the bottom here. You just pull this open, and storage is down in there. Pretty standard. Same stock and stuff, but trying to think. As far as I want to get a silencer, but that's a whole other thing. I think that would be great, especially for defense if you're going to be using it indoors. You can really blow your eardrums out if you shoot indoors or something like this. But eventually, you know, when the money comes in, I'm going to try to get a silencer and stuff, and then I'll do a review on that as I add it to it. But it does add weight and everything. But as far as, you know, my perfect AR, if you get anything else out of this video, I know it's pretty long, but my perfect AR would be a 16-inch barrel without the length from the flash hider added in, because it's a middle ground between your 14.5-inch or even shorter CQB weapons and your 20-inch, you know, varmint weapons. And if you're only going to be having one gun, if you have the money to buy all kinds of stuff, then I would buy individual ones for those specific purposes, or even different uppers. But for me, for a lot of the guys that only can afford one AR, then that's what I would do. I'd get the 16-inch barrel, and order everything you want on the gun from the start. That's another thing. If you can go to like Rock River or whatever, and you can say, I want a chrome bolt carrier group, I want the 2-stage trigger, which I think comes standard, the winter trigger guard, this stock, this fore-end, you know, this flash hider. Do it all from the manufacturer. Do your research and then see how much it costs for the price of the gun that they're giving you if you were to buy a gun on your own, and then research how much it costs the parts, but then also figure in the gunsmithing if you don't know how to do it to switch all that stuff out. For me, you save a substantial amount of money by getting it all from the manufacturer, like this chrome bolt carrier group that I got, this PRI gas buster charging handle. I mean, that's, you know, like $200, I think, something like that. This is like $100-some. You know, those are expensive options. But if you get them from the manufacturer, they buy them in bulk. A lot of times you can get a lot better deal if you get all the stuff you want on your AR right from the get-go. Then you don't have to try to sell your other parts or have other parts in on that you paid, you know, $300 for or whatever for a different barrel. But get the barrel contour, you know, like the barrel material, stainless or nitrided or whatever you want. They're so easy to make because they're so modular. But that would be another piece of advice I would give you, is get everything you want from the start, because that would really save you a lot of money in the long run. You know, it's kind of like a lesson I learned with the hunting jackets. I used to buy like cheaper hunting jackets and stuff, and it didn't really quite do what I wanted them to do and stuff. And then one day I broke down and I ordered a Cabela's. It's like a Chuck Adams Pro Elite Fleece. It's like $350 jacket, and it's a rock star of a jacket. It's awesome. I've had it for like almost 10 years. It looks like it's brand new and it performs flawlessly. So don't be afraid to spend the money on good quality parts and good quality components, and get every little aspect of everything that you want right from the start. Because yeah, it's going to be a bigger bill, but in the long run, it'll actually save you money. Because if you really wanted something else, but you figure, well, I can save 20 bucks here, 50 bucks there, don't do it. Get everything you want. Get it all from the start. Yeah, it's a bigger bill up front, but you'll have everything you want, and then you don't have to switch anything. You don't have to do anything. It's there. Like I said, keep the weight down. We talked about the fore end. I would like a mid-length gas system no matter what you're doing. I think it's better for a choice for an all-around, especially if you're going to be flexing into CQB and hunting. The sling is pretty subjective to how you hunt and what you carry. I like a 3-point sling from Blackhawk. The stock, like I said, I would make sure to get a stock that has adequate room for cheek weld on here. I don't really care for the standard car stock. That's just a single tube. I like it where it's, you know, that A shape if you look at it from the behind. and I like the rubberized butt pad on there. I like the storage compartments in it. The charging handle, it's not really, you don't really have to get it. It was an option and I saved money on it, so I got it. The standard charging handle will do, but as far as your optics go, I kind of talked a little bit about the optics and that kind of thing. So that's pretty much my take on the perfect AR, depending on what you're going to do and how you want to flex it into different roles and stuff. But I say take the middle ground, save the money, and set your gun up the way you want it. Have a middle of the road gun, and then take this optic, whatever optic you want, red dot or whatever, and then put on another scope with lever mounts or something, so you can flex it into those roles. If you want to save even more money, if you say, well, I could just use my iron sights for close combat, and I could use my scope for hunting and long range shooting, you could even save more money by doing that, because then you'd have let's say a lever mount with a rifle scope, and then if you're going to use it for close combat, just take the levers, take it off, flip your iron sights up, and then you've saved yourself even more money. Other optics choices that I really talk about, these are probably the two that I would say are the best for close combat. Vortex, if you're looking for a budget option, Vortex has one called the Strike Fire, and they also have a couple other options as well, quite a bit cheaper than any of these. Just these are $500-600 in that range. Some of them without the mounts, and the Vortex is like I think half or less than half of that. So if you're looking for a budget option for your scope that will still work, I would take a look at the Strike Fire, or maybe even if you want like a 1 to 4 power scope that has an illuminated reticle, they have I think it's called the Viper, and I would take a look at those because they have lifetime warranties. It's a good company, and you really save a lot of money. So if that's one way you could get better parts for your AR, save a little bit of money, and they're still going to perform really well for you. And you have to really look at what you're going to be using this for. Do you really need a $10,000 super mil spec AR that has got every bulletproof part ever made on it? Because if you're only going to be shooting it like most people do, a couple hundred rounds a year, if that, hunting or whatever, I would go for something like this Rock River, because it's every bit as quality that I've ever seen from milspec. The triggers are phenomenal right out of the package, and for what I use it for, they're better. And I actually had a guy that owns the gun shop that is some of the guns that I had purchased from him, and I've talked to some other people too. He was in Blackwater. He's used to be in the military as a sniper, and he was also a law enforcement officer and stuff, and he teaches carbine classes and all kinds of stuff. And he said that out of all the guns that he sees, as far as what he would rank them, first he would rank Colts as number 1, as having the least amount of problems. And he said for him, for value and for what he sees in classes, he said Bushmaster and Rock River would be tied for second. He said you don't really see failures with them very much. And with me, I've never had a failure with any of these guns in any of the thousands of rounds that I've pushed through these guns. I've never had one jam, one failure, one problem with any component of them. So that's my experience. If you have something different, go ahead and chime in if you want. But if you have your own opinions about what's good and what's not, that's fine. Just respect my opinions and I'll respect yours. This is what I think is good for what I use it for. So hopefully you got something out of this video. I know it's pretty long, but if you had the time and are like me, you love hearing other people's opinions and how they use stuff and what they think about certain things. Maybe it helps you make a decision or think about something you didn't think about before. So any questions or comments, I'll try to get back to you, and I hope you guys enjoyed this and it was somewhat informative. Thanks a lot.